mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I am joined by Dan from Bleed and Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Brother, life's a bitch, and she's back in heat.
That line.
It's gross as hell, isn't it?
It's awful. I had to go back and go, did I just hear? Where? Yeah. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. This week, I don't know about you, but I have had They Live stuck in my head. Like, you watch Drag Race, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen Trinity the Tuck go, she lives.
Yep. Delivered in the same format, same style, same tone every time, even though they talked her through saying it with different inflections. Yep.
Still manages to say, that's what's been stuck in my head, is that They Live. I promise I won't do it all the way through. I won't. But yeah, we're doing They Live. I'm very excited about this one because I've just watched it for the first time. Shocker, I know. But I'll do the disclaimer and then we'll get on into the episode. Sure, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our socials on Facebook or the Discord or the comment section where you can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong, because we can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of a nerdism.
Don't be a dick.
Simple. Don't be a dick. Right, you ready? They Live is the 1988 sci-fi fiction action horror, definitely action, written and directed by John Carpenter, based on the 1963 short story 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson, starring Roddy Piper, Keith David, and Meg Foster. They control what you see. They decide what you hear. You think they're your people. They think you're people just like you. You're wrong. Dead wrong. As Monsters Up North brings you They Live. That is one of the taglines, and what I had a lot to pick from. I could have gone with the typical. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, obey or else. Alien invasion of the subliminal kind.
Jesus Christ, that one's a bit heavy, isn't it?
Yep. And then the one I did read, and who are they? And what are they? I was going to use that one and do it really like over dramatic, and you see them on the street, you watch them on TV, you might even vote for them this fall. You think they're your people. You're wrong. Dead wrong. That is too on the fucking nose.
Bump. For those of you that don't know, we're recording this on the 6th of November, and the 6th of November is the day after the American elections, and we're going into Pew Pew, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble and Grub Trumpton. So a new dawn,
this one.
A new day. They live.
They live. We've really timed this one. I mean, granted, it's not going to go out till Monday, and the time's kind of settled by then. But we are literally recording this the day that it was announced.
Obey, consume.
Eat more,
Yeah.
I was trying to read them and I was like,
marry
no,
and
sleep more.
reproduce. Yeah.
That one really got to me. The marry and reproduce. I went, who the fuck are you?
Work 8 hours, play 8 hours, sleep 8 hours. There's another one.
Ew. Ew. Well, yeah, that is kind of like the subcontext of this film, kind of. Trying to make big words up. Oh god. Sorry, Binks has just decided to sprawl out and that. Okay. The movie itself.
Yeah.
John Carpenter. The minute I saw, why do I keep saying M? Sorry. The minute I saw Roddy Piper walk on the hair, the rucksack, I went and instantly, I'm telling you now, Kurt Russell was up for this role. And when I was like, is Kurt Russell becoming the new Boris Karloff?
For John, he was. But John, he went off to do something else, and John decided that he thought the constant repetitiveness of having the same lead might not do him well.
Yeah.
So you should. Have you got the list of people they were gonna use?
No, I don't actually. That was the only thing I found on casting because I was very intrigued by, as he has to have been, the image of Piper as he's walking on that first scene. You could squint and think you're looking at Kurt Russell.
The amount that there are here, so bear with me. Tom Cruise.
Fuck off. Okay.
Patrick Swayze.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
Hasselhoff.
Mm-mm.
Johnny Depp.
No.
Alec Baldwin.
Alec
Baldwin. Michael Bean, depending on how you say it.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Bridges. Bruce Campbell.
Oh.
Harrison Ford. Mel Gibson. Tommy Lee Jones. Michael Keaton. Christopher Lambert from Highlander.
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren. Michael Madsen. Bill Paxton. Ron Perlman. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Willis were all considered to play the part of Nada.
It is literally the 90s, the 80s and 90s action stars. It's all of them.
And I think that's what John is, an incredibly clever person when it comes to choices. He goes so far. It's like you don't expect it, because everybody knows Kurt Russell for the most part as a comedic action / comedy rom-com.
Yeah, he can do comedy.
So, you know, when you look at Overboard and you look at those movies that he did in the later part of the 80s and into the 90s, you know, he's known for that kind of film. The Thing is a sci-fi genius.
Oh.
You know, it shows us that Kurt can play straight. He can do that. Big Trouble in Little China, it's a fantastical action-y kind of like sci-fi type thing, but there's a lot of comedy in that as well. So, you know, when it comes to this one, the fact that he went so left field and went, I've just watched WrestleMania 3, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to approach the wrestler that I like the most and see if he wants to do it.
And Roddy Piper. I was not don't get us wrong, I was watching wrestling when Piper was there. Maybe a little bit maybe a little bit later. No, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, Piper was not my guy. Jake the Snake Roberts was my guy.
Right.
That's who I absolutely adored, even though my grandfather always told me that we needed to root for the British Bulldog because, you know, we're English. And I was like, no, I'm going for Jake the Snake Roberts. But I'm not lying when I say I was genuinely convinced that Piper was from Scotland.
With his bagpipes and his kilt.
He's from Canada. And there is certain dialogue in this movie that you can hear the Canadian come out of him. John absolutely loved him in WrestleMania 3 and approached him for the movie. Vinnie Mac Vinnie Mac turned around and said, Piper, we can get you something better than this. You don't need to do this. This is below you. It's beneath you. We can get you something bigger. And Piper went, no, you fucking can't. Toodaloo.
Yeah.
And left the WWF, left his contract for this movie. And then what happened after it?
Well, it's got it here that Vince McMahon is McMahon, isn't it?
McMahon, yeah. Vinnie Mac.
Yeah. Didn't want Roddy Piper to do the film at all. And John Carpenter said, yeah, he thought that was the case because there was a lot of to and fro before they got him. But yeah, you were right, bang on when he said that and walked off. And he said because McMahon was a control freak, he couldn't deal with him. And he said, when I came back to wrestling, I was twice as important as when I left.
Yeah.
So
because when this film worked out, Vince is back on the phone and he's like, we'll double everything, triple everything. You can have everything. And he got everything. And the greatest part of this, there are some funny fucking lines in this film. And I'm sure we will repeat them later on. But these are works that Piper wanted to use as his character in wrestling. Yeah. There is a lot of contribution. And I think that's wonderful of John, because if you remember when we did Vampires, we talked about the relationship between him and James Woods and how everyone said how difficult he was. But John said it was one of the greatest working experiences he had because it was a collaboration. Yeah. It feels that's how John works with people. He's he's got this idea and he's then given it to somebody else to say, well, what do you think of this idea? And they're working with each other to create the best that they can get out of each other. And I feel it kind of slotted into place when I started reading about using lines that he wanted to use in wrestling. Like, that's crazy talk. Yeah, but it makes sense because the character, right, nowhere in this movie is his name actually mentioned. Nope. He doesn't have a name. John is even a made-up name that come out of nowhere, because the only association to Nada is the fact that they did a comic book of this prior, and they associated him with him, that him character rather than anything else, and they knew that they had to give him a character name on the credits, so they went with that. But John doesn't exist. John is a made-up name that has just come out of nowhere for the character. It is literally, he's credited as Nada. And to most of us that are English, I don't know if it's slang in any other kind of part of the world, but Nada means nothing. Nada. You know, it means you're nothing. You're the nothing character. You're the zero. You're the... I don't know whether it means he's like a loser, because he's not a life's loser. He's quite optimistic when they first meet him. When you first introduced to him, he's like, oh yeah, I just want to, you know, make money and move on. I'm quite happy with my life. Just point me in the right direction and I'll do whatever needs to be done, you know. Quite a, not happy-go-lucky, because he doesn't strike me as happy, but he's just one of life's people that's just quite... He drifts. He's a drifter. Yeah, goes with the flow. And it's a lot of Piper is in the Nada character, and Nada is in Piper, because Piper had a really rough upbringing. He is literally from the streets. He has worked from the ground up to get him to where he was. Sadly, we have lost Roddy Piper, which is fucking heartbreaking. 9 years now. Heartbreaking. The last thing I saw him in, and it'd probably be the same for you, is Trash Man. Yep, Always Sunny, where he played what was it? The Warrior or the Wrestler or something like that. The Maniac. The Maniac. That's it. Yeah. Yes, because they kept calling him Maniac, Mr. Maniac, sir. And I really thought, like, Piper still had it then. Like, he still had the physicality of being able to move around, and his acting chops, I thought, were brilliant. They were very well fitted into the Always Sunny universe. Well, the daft thing about that as well was the fact that he'd actually done quite a lot of other TV work. I didn't realize that. His credits are in like the 150s, obviously including all of his like TV debuts from WrestleManias and Raw and whatever else it was he was on. I mean, I don't know if he was on Raw, because I'm sure it was something else back then, but you know, all those kind of credits. But 50% at least, maybe even 60% is of TV and movie appearances that had nothing to do with wrestling.
And a lot of people don't actually realize he was in a the RoboCop TV show that was on. He also did voiceover work in Robot Chicken.
Yes.
With Seth Green, obviously. And then he did, this one, I was like, I beg your fucking pardon, I had to read that twice. Adventure Time. He did some voiceovers in Adventure Time. And I was like, it's been a while, but but yeah, he did. He's credited as doing some parts of Adventure Time.
I scanned through his filmography on Tuesday night after we'd watched the film, because I was like, oh my God, what has Piper done? What has Piper done to deserve this place? And I was like, Jesus wept. Like, wow, that man worked. When I see a lot of credits, like, you can he's done some work. And he really puts his heart and soul into this movie. Now, we might all think we're getting cheap laughs out of it, but in actual fact, we're getting such a raw, real story of Roddy Piper as Nada. The scene where he's opening up. Let me just get into that scene for a second. The fight scene. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's afterwards. And his face is all swollen. And the makeup looks so fucking good. And it's like you got to wash it off.
Yes,
because
correct.
all of a sudden it's just instantly gone. The swelling's gone.
They were perfectly fine. Yeah.
Movie magic, I guess. I don't. There's no explanation for it.
Maybe there was a time leap we didn't know about. That's all I can say in that occasion.
But he was very swollen. I thought the makeup looked absolutely fantastic. The swelling in the face and everything. His face looked completely different.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was trying to look up who was responsible for the look of the aliens. Now, this is like some sort of trade secret. Like,
can't find it.
I saw some bits about a guy called, and I want to say it was either Kibble. I want to say it was Kibble. He was some sort of associate producer, maybe associate something, director. He had some sort of to do with the film. But somebody said it was like an idea he had and he jotted down, and Rob Botton did something with it. And then Rob Botton had something, but it wasn't them. It wasn't him specifically that did it. It was like trying to find this chain of like how it got to how it was. Cannot find who invented that mask in a million years. I don't know. Because obviously the comic book had been out and the story had come out. So technically they were using ideas from that. But obviously it's then turned into a screenplay, which then makes it completely different to the comic book and to the short stories. So you know, the difference, the weirdest thing for me is I saw an interview with John Carpenter, and he was basically saying that when he screenplayed this, he was taking a 1963 short story.
Yeah.
So let's put that into perspective. We're talking 61 years ago this was written, and it stands up today just as strong. And he was saying that we've never come away from They Live, John. He was saying literally you can put it in any period of time and it is still relevant. He said, but the one thing that he noticed the most when he was writing it, he wanted to bring up Reaganism.
Yes.
Which is something that obviously being Brits, and plus I was in my 10s. So Reaganism, I knew he was an actor and I knew he was the president and I knew he attempted assassination things. But other than that, I didn't know much about Reagan because I'm a child.
Spitting Image is as close as I came to knowing who Reagan was.
Funny puppet guy,
Yeah.
But also he said it was a commentary on Thatcherism as well, because he said that I'm going to get this, but I'm going to butcher this quote, and I apologize now because I'm pretty sure Mike will know the quote I'm talking about. But John Carpenter basically said something like, "There's no such thing as a bad government. There's only a government that's bad," or something along those lines. Like it's a really like poignant quote for what he based the whole of this screenplay on. Now,
I feel like I wrote this down.
It's something like that. I haven't got the words right by any stretch of the imagination, but it's in that kind of ballpark. And where he said when he wrote the screenplay, and people don't necessarily know that he wrote the screenplay, because if you look at the credits, the person accredited for the screenplay is Frank Armitage.
Yes.
That's one of John's pseudonyms.
Right.
So he wrote the screenplay for this, but he didn't want to write the theme tune, sing the theme
tune. Yeah, I wondered when Frank Armitage came up, I went, why do I know that name?
Yeah, it's one of John's pseudonyms. It's one of his pen names that he goes under when he feels like his name's on something too much and he doesn't want to
So then he goes in with John Carpenter's vampires.
John Carpenter's They Live, John Carpenter's The Thing. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy knows how to brand. Let's be honest. His name's a brand within itself. You don't even have to see John, but you know what you're getting when you see. When I say you know what you're getting, you kind of know what you're getting. There's always something in there that makes you sit back and go,
no, I'm seeing a whole different. We've covered quite a few John Carpenter movies now, and I'm starting to not see a pattern anymore.
the pattern is the surprise.
The pattern is the music.
The pattern is definitely a surprise because he writes things so well. I think a lot of people think John is a master of horror. John is not a master
John
of
is
horror.
not a master of horror.
John is a master of human interaction. He knows how to take a situation and make that scary.
Yes.
Yes, okay, we've had Michael Myers, we've got The Shape, we've known Nick Castle, we know Tiny Moran, we know all that shit. We know. We've been down that one. But it wasn't about Michael, that first film. It was about Laurie, and it was about the interaction between people. And if you were in that situation, how would you cope with it? And how did Laurie deal with it as a human, as a genuine human sort of experience? And then you move on to The Thing, and it's like, you don't really have much to do with the actual entity until later on, but it's a social experiment. You're watching people in a hot box learn how to deal with each other and become distrusting of each other. And it's very similar in this movie as well, because you're in a situation where you're completely coasting along in life, and then you're shown something that completely changes your outlook, and you have to convince other people that they need to see what you see.
You've just described the plot of They Live.
But that's it is pretty much it, because everybody has an opinion. Don't know if you knew this or not. Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
And so everybody thinks they're right, and they are right. If they believe it, they're right. However, trying to convince someone that is so staunchly right in their own head that they're wrong is a task within itself, and a fantastic premise to make a movie from, because they're wrong. The main person, the character that's driving the belief that they're wrong, you're with that person, you're behind that person, and you're shouting at the Keith Davids, and you're shouting at the Meg Fosters, and you're shouting,
fucking glasses on.
You're at a point where you have a record-breaking fight that lasts 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
It's
5 minutes and 20 seconds.
It's one of the greatest fights I have ever seen on screen. And when I read about it, what's the actor's name again? Keith David.
Yeah.
He said it was the greatest fun he'd ever had because it was the safest fight he was ever in. He was in such good hands with Roddy Piper. Like, I'll stop calling him Roddy Piper. And he was in such good hands with him because of his wrestling ability. He was able to safely land him on the ground. He was able to safely do this and that. The only one that fight is real, apart from there's no face punching.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's fake. Everything else you see is choreographed to the perfection.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say, all the way through that fight, I said to Rob last night when we were watching it, I went, I can smell that alleyway.
I could smell them too.
I can smell that alleyway. And that's all I kept saying. That alleyway smells like bin juice. It is a bin juice alleyway. And they are soaking the bin juice up in their clothes, and they are going to smell like bin juice. And then everything about it.
Well, me and Anth kind of like found ourselves going like that. Like, get the glasses out of the way, get the glasses out of the way.
Yeah.
And then we realized, because we thought that were his only pair of glasses. And I was like, Oh no, he stashed a whole box, but he acted like they were the only pair of glasses in the world that was left, even though when he puts them on, he has a pair.
Yeah.
So I have to assume that he found more from the box that he had stashed.
Yeah, I think there was one or two pairs in the bottom. I have to guess that
I
that was
have
the
to
case.
assume that that's the case because he acted like they were the only glasses left in the world because he was moving them about, and we are like, move, like, get them out of the way, move them glasses, don't land on the. And then it was like, just put the fucking glasses on. Why are you not putting the glasses on? But it's all because it he doesn't want the illusion broke.
Yeah.
He's quite happy in his little bubble
Yeah.
with his family. And maybe, to be honest, the way the film pans out, maybe he should have just stayed there.
I mean, that's the thing. It's a. I would say John Carpenter is a sci-fi master. He's not a horror master. He's done horror films and he's done sci-fi with horror elements, but really he's a master of sci-fi and a master of the human condition.
Yes.
For me, John has a way of seeing things and being able to translate it. That's the key. Not everybody has the ability to, like we were talking about this before, sometimes we both struggle to get out what we're trying to say because we can see it in here.
Yeah.
But it's trying to find the words. Writing it down, we'll be able to do it, but trying to find the words in the moment to get it out and get across what you're trying to say, it doesn't always work.
No, it's totally true because I wanted to make sure that, and I'm really glad you said it and I didn't have to, because I wanted to make sure that everything that is like the subtext and the context and all the meaning behind it, I didn't want that lost because I couldn't explain it properly.
Yeah.
I know what I'm looking at and I know what it is that he is getting at when I'm watching it, but sometimes I can't put it into words, and especially on a Wednesday night when we've both been to work all day. I wanted to make sure I did it justice, but I didn't have to because Dan did it for us. So hey, friendship.
It's just a strange. It's an entirely strange way of looking at things, and I suppose the allegory from this is the rose-tinted glasses ball, thing, the saying, if you look at things, if you look at things through a certain lens, they're going to be one way, and if you look at them without, then it's another way, and the glasses, from what I could gather, I did write this down, so bear with me.
I didn't recognize them.
The sunglasses were called Hoffman lenses in the movie. And basically, they were named after Albert Hoffman, who created LSD.
Fuck yes.
So I can see that little, call it an Easter egg, call it what you like, but
that is brilliant. That's just the genius of him, isn't it?
But it seems like you could look at it that they were pumping LSD into the water to keep everybody from, like there's that conspiracy, isn't there? Anybody's heard of all these ridiculously outlandish conspiracies over the years, they pumped LSD into the water and they pumped it into rooms, like put it through air conditioning ducts just to keep people compliant and keep them. But do you know what I mean? To keep them sedated, keep them compliant, keep them
compliant,
in a thingy state. And when you look at that, when you watch this film, you're like, obey, consume, do as you're told, keep ticking over. That's all they want from you. They want you to keep doing what you're doing. They don't want you to acknowledge them. They don't want you to know they exist, but they want you to know that they're far superior than you.
Yeah.
In every which way, because any of them, when they were in either form, were incredibly judgy or stuck up, or
because they became part of the collective. So if you agree to them, which is what one of them, we see a character at the very beginning of the movie who is homeless, who is living in the in the shelters of and he's very much a distinctive character. Like you would recognize him along the line, and we do get to see him at the very end. And he has become compliant and he has joined the collective. And because of that, he's rewarded. He will get, and they do say, even if you open your eyes and see what it is that they want and you take their offer up, they will look after you. But it's so weird, and this is just the brilliance of John Carpenter, how he can make you look at a character. So the initial character of the guy who's in the church, and he's moving all them boxes, and you think, oh, Shifty, what you up to? What you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he's got something to do with like whatever's gonna occur. He's gonna be the bad guy. He's not. It's on the good guys.
Revolutionary.
Oh, viva la revolution!
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the revolution guys, and you're like, oh, that's so good. Because even in that split second, I'm thinking, what you up to, you shifty bastard?
The other thing I love on this movie is all the matte painting work that goes on, because obviously when they're taking the glasses on and off, you see the grayscale, and the grayscale is mainly matte painting work, and that was done by a guy called Jim Danforth. And Jim Danforth is an Academy Award winner. He worked predominantly with Ray Harryhausen as a stop-go animator, and he won 2 Academy Award for visual effects for Clash of the Titans and another one. So this guy knew his shit. Not only did he matte paint, he did stop-go animation. So he knew perspective, he knew how to make things be, you know. And if you're not someone who's familiar with Ray Harryhausen, please go back, watch Sinbad, watch the original Clash of the Titans, watch Jason and the Argonauts, watch those films. They are films that everybody should, who's into any kind of sci-fi, monster movie, stop-go animation, anything like that. They are the pinnacle, the very pinnacle of where stop-go really made its mark. And okay, with today's eyes, they probably look terrible.
No, I don't know. I don't think that I don't know how a young audience would take it, but for me, it's magic. Like I think I've brought this up before with my dad and because my dad's an artist, amongst many other things. But he is fascinated. He was so fascinated in the day of stop motion animation. Morph was one of his favorite things. Just the idea of how he knew that plasticine was real. How it is that they got it to move. So movies like that was fascinating to him. Granted, he doesn't have the greatest attention span, so he probably didn't understand half the stuff that he was watching. I'm really doing my dad a discredit. I'm so sorry. But it's the way things work that interest him. So movies like that really interest. Jason and the Argonauts used to be one of my, I loved that growing up.
Well, the nod to, like, how many people nod back to Clash of the Titans and Jason and the Argonauts and all those films through, like, especially with Evil Dead, Army of Darkness.
Yes.
All the skeletons are done very much in the same vein as the Jason and the Argonauts and that stuff. So it's a well-loved, you know, it's the fact that John got Jim Danforth on this.
That's crazy.
Is insane, but I'm not surprised, because at that point in 1988, his career, John had obviously been going for about 10 years at that point, because Halloween came out in what, 78? 79. So
let's say
yeah, so 78, 79, you're looking at Halloween, and then 82 was The Thing, and then Big Trouble in Little China, I think, was 86. Now don't quote me on that.
Well done. No, you're right, it is.
So you're looking at like there, and then you're going straight into They Live, and I'm sure there's been some other bits and pieces inserted along the lines, but They Live is like his 4th film. And to this day, John doesn't understand how this opened at #1 in the box office, at the cinema box office. He does not understand. And it's like reputation. That's how. A famous wrestler. Because wrestling was in its heyday in the late 80s. It was
massive. And this is a prime time wrestler. This isn't your jobber or anything like that. This is prime time. This is the guy who puts the bums in the seats. This is fucking Roddy Piper.
And he is the first ever wrestler to be in a motion picture, and as a known wrestler.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about as a kid was in a movie, then grew up to be a wrestler. We are talking about someone who had a career as a wrestler, then went and did motion pictures and then came back. So you're looking at anybody like Stone Cold Steve Austin in The Condemned, or The Rock making every other freaking movie that there ever is coming out. You know, any kind of wrestler like that, John Cena, for crying out loud.
Cena.
I mean, we've never seen him in any films, but he's there apparently. But yeah, he's
You're gonna try and let that one slide, are you? It's me.
but yeah, he's the gist of it is he's paved the way for all these guys to be able then have Vince McMahon and go, oh, hang on a second. Vince has gone, oh, we can make WWF, WWE movies now. We can do the entertainment side of it.
Do the Marine.
Yeah, we can go out and do The Condemned, which at the time I really liked that film. But then when you realise it's a wrestling movie and the majority of them are wrestlers in it, and you're just like, it's a bit shit.
Yeah,
but,
and that's what the brilliant part about this is, that fight sequence. Yes, it has some, but the ever so slight wrestling moves. And you're like, oh, there's one. I did have to go and Google what his finisher was. Because at the time, this is me and Ant were talking about this, because Jake the Snake Roberts' finisher was the DDT. Which, if you're a wrestling fan, you know it's pretty basic. No,
people's
it's
elbow. People's elbow. You had like
the DDT is
stone
literally just putting someone in a headlock and dropping them on their head, and it's basic. But these are the guys like Piper. Piper's was a submission move, and it was a basic submission move. It's nothing. So it's nothing glamorous. It was just very. It's very what we would class as basic as a move in today's wrestling. But these were the guys who were creating these finishes and making them look spectacular. They are the starting point of it. So, and nobody had seen this before. So me and Ant had this very elegant conversation about it last night. If you were there, you would have understood what I meant.
Well, Macho Man Randy Savage was quoted, bless him, as saying that this was his favourite film ever. Because
the cream always rises to the top. Dig it!
Honest to God. Oh, woo! I know that's Ric Flair. Don't come for me. I know that's Ric Flair. But it's the fact that Roddy Piper, honest to God, it's even in the DVD commentary, if you go and listen to it, thought this was a documentary.
No.
He thought it was based on true events. Now, we can only say that he has had a lot of knocks to the noggin in wrestling. So he admits to it. Honestly, he does admit to it on the DVD commentary where him and John are talking through the movie, you know, like you get on the, and it's quite intriguing to hear, like, and John went, "You're kidding." You hear John go, "No," but I get what you mean. Like he said, like, I can understand why you think that, but do you really think there's aliens among us and all this sort of shit? And John went, I don't know. It seems plausible. You know, he's
so lovely. Just to go back to the release of this.
Yeah.
So this was scheduled to be released on October 21st, 1988. However, they moved it.
Yep.
They moved it because a certain movie was coming out at the same time, and John, I'm guessing, not only wanted to avoid the competition, but also disassociate himself completely from this movie.
3?
With 4.
4.
Yeah, John is the executive producer on the first 3 Halloween movies until you get to 4. That's the first time he is completely whoosh. I'm out of here.
Because Paul Rudd's 5, isn't he?
I want to say yes, but I didn't watch that film.
I took one for the team on that.
No,
so just you lot know that I sat and watched Paul Rudd in a Halloween movie, which my brain will never ever thank me for, because that was the biggest pile of crap. And I love Paul Rudd. Like Paul Rudd can do no wrong. I mean, if it came out next week that he'd done something stupid, then we might have words. Yep. But like as it stands, the man doesn't age. He sleeps in a freezer, and he makes me laugh every time he opens his mouth. So
yeah. But then that film was terrible. Yeah, Dan was furious because when we did the Halloween when we did the Halloween episode, we go in this, we're going to watch these movies. This is how we do this. We were going to watch these movies and then we're going to talk about these movies. I didn't do that, and she did.
I think I watched all 11 or 12 of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies as well.
You did.
I was brain dead by the end of it, because what a pile of dog shit. Like as with any of them, I can understand why John turned around and he went, "No, thank you."
No,
I don't. Is he credited in Kill's Halloween Kills, Halloween, blah, 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 the new
Not
three.
that I'm aware of, but
Because
no.
Danny, this is the thing that I find bizarre. The Danny
McBride.
McBride, the comedian, wrote the scripts, wrote the screenplay, directed this shit. Or I think he had something to do with the directing. I
It's
don't
his
know if he
team.
did.
It's his team. It's his production company. And I think he credited himself as the writer on the first one.
Right.
Whether or not that's the same for the two, I don't know.
I used to love Danny McBride because he was so stupid. Tropic Thunder is my pinnacle. It's where he peaked for me. Tropic Thunder.
This is the end. This is it. I'm gonna come on with the house.
But I will kick him in the shin if I ever see him, and that's just because he didn't ruin a franchise, but he changed it to a point of where it took it away from where it needed to go, in my opinion. And I can understand why John was just like, okay, I'm done now. I've got what I need from it.
Yeah, he's fine. Like I think I genuinely don't believe in my heart of hearts he probably ever wanted to do a second one. I really
don't.
don't.
Think he did. No,
I really
think that was
don't.
the studio. I think the studio
Yeah.
pushed him to do the second.
Exactly.
And then,
I think he just wanted to do one and done.
yeah, and I think that was still very much a college movie.
Yeah.
You look at the people that were in it. His wife, Deborah Hill, at the time, his wife was Deborah Hill, and she was the one who co-produced, co-directed with him. They'd taken a chance on being able to get Jamie Lee. This was her very first movie she'd ever did, and they begged and pleaded with her mum and dad to be able to get her on the film.
Yeah.
Nick Castle was a college mate. Literally, when you go into it, they all were fresh out of college or fresh, they weren't long out of film school to make this movie. So John got the provenance he needed from that movie, from the second, from the third. Whether he wanted the second and third or not, he could ride off the back of that, because he could go to companies and go, well, I'm John Carpenter.
Yeah.
You're going to let me do this for what?
Exactly.
And they did, and his films just progressed and progressed and progressed. I mean, The Thing, it was so far left from Halloween. Then you go to Big Trouble in Little China. That is, again, so far left from The Thing. And then from Big Trouble in Little China, you go on to They Live, and they're all just like...
They're crazy. He even did an Elvis movie. He's done a vampire movie.
Yeah.
He's done Escape from New York. You're right. You're totally right. If you just didn't have the Halloween as a singular, everything he's done is so vastly different to the next.
Yeah.
But he didn't get the date he initially wanted, because he really didn't want to go up against Halloween 4. Yeah. Whether that be, like I said, for competition, or just simply wanting to, like, I don't want to be associated with this anymore. Yeah. But what he did get, what date did he get?
November the 4th, yeah.
Which is voting day.
Yes. Now, I did read something about this, and they were saying that it wasn't intentional. It was just that the studio pushed it back, and it fell on that day. And then it was just by association. It then became very apt that they chose that day, because it all sort of fit into place because of the way the film works. And
well, it fits with the social commentary of everything. So whether or not they wanted it intentionally, I really think that they were like, oh shit, let's do this. Let's really fucking do this.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the point now, for me, he discovers, he has the glasses on. This is just before he has the fight. He discovers that, the world isn't quite as it seems, and people are being force-fed consumerism, and people don't look right. I don't know if it's I didn't get to read the short story, and I know it's only a 6-page story, but
is it?
Yeah, I'm gutted I didn't get to read it. But I don't know if they go into descriptions of what the alien actually looks like. But I know that John wanted some sort of like decomposing ideal of a human, but not like he wanted a humanoid, kind of muscly, structured, like...
I get that, because the mouth is like, when you... I'm going to get really morbid for a second. When you pull all this back, that's how the teeth look. So, if you do, when you pull your... I won't do that.
Lips.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I get the look of it, because it is very structured around the cheeks, but not so much around the eyes. The eyes are quite bulging in a way, because there's nothing really supporting it. There's nothing really around it. The texture of it, though, is so different. And I didn't even question it. like as to why make that choice. I was just like, oh, I don't care. Like this looks amazing.
Well, a lot of the people don't understand the color choices. And it's like, well, the color choices were made because in black and grey, those colors look a certain way and they show
Yeah,
better on the camera. So that's why when you see them in black and white, the blue and the pinky red stick
yeah.
out
I should have
so
known
much
that.
better than when you get to the end and you realize that's the actual color that they are.
They are. I should have known that, given, I know a lot about black and white movies and color choices that they use in order to make things stand out. So I should have known that.
But
Darn it.
we go into the stage then of where they break they give they somehow, it's the watch, isn't it? They're backed into the corner. They're having the big firefight with all these special agents, and Keith David manages to fanny around with the watch, throws it, and it opens the portal. And they both jump into the portal. Well, I'm glad Keith turned around and said to him, "I'm not going in there," because that's exactly what I would have said, to be fair. But and
Yeah.
then they get transported to the TV station, if I'm not wrong, which in the
Did I
underground,
fucking blink?
yeah, in the underground, it's the big like hall where they're having a massive like black tie do, and these two walk in
Yes.
looking like bloody cleaners and
Yes. And that's when they
tradesmen.
meet homeless guy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're looking like tradesmen, and he's like, "Well, you could have dressed up for it," and they were like, and he just was like, "Okay, let's go for a tour," and I'm like, "Oh, fucking hell, he's trusting, isn't he?"
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you find out that they they have a airport
They do.
just
True story.
outside where they get like sucked out and go to Andromeda. I'm pretty sure it's Andromeda that they
Is
were.
it?
I'm sure Andromeda was mentioned.
Okay.
So and then they just stand there and they're watching it and they look so confused, and it's just like the dawning of the realization that, shit, this is
We're not
really,
alone.
yeah,
And this is real.
yeah.
And this is more fucked up than we ever thought that it could be. Halfway through the film, we do meet a third character, which is Meg Foster.
Yes.
Holy shit, that woman's eyes.
We had this conversation. When she was younger, she had a very strong look. I mean, she does now, but she gets
Not-
cast for that look now. Like,
Yeah, so in the middle of her career, not so much.
mm,
But towards the end of her, because I know her from Lords of Salem, and she has a very distinct face, and like a very feature-wise, and obviously the eyes as well. But the bitch is Eva Lynn.
mhm.
Come on, in Masters of the Universe, them eyes. You could
Meg
lose
Foster,
yourself in
it
them eyes.
was, she was a very good choice, in my opinion. Because at first, I remember, because it's been a while since I've seen the film, but I know the premise of it, but I forgot all about her character. And when she went and got in the car, I said to Rob, Jesus, I think that's Claire Higgins. Because my mind went Hellraiser straight away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, it's not. It's Meg Foster. You have that like little
Yeah.
moment. And yeah, it's you don't see her in a lot. But when
No.
you do see her now, she's cast very much in quirky, strange roles due to the way she
Loads of
has
Salem.
aged, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Her film credits were very few and far between that I knew of, but the Minutemen and Clockmasters of the Universe, and she does a voice in the Kevin Smith voiced animated one as well, which I thought was a nice touch, given that she's Eva Lynn. Yeah, we're looking through it and we're like, that's how we know her face. I knew her face instantly because of the eyes. It's you can't get away from them eyes. But what I loved about her is the such you think she's you can almost say shit, she really isn't acting very well in this, but she's acting absolutely perfect because it's so straight faced. You don't know anything about her. Anything. So when the switcheroo happens at the end, you're like, oh, okay, you hit that well.
Bitch.
You
But yeah,
bitch.
the whole premise of this film is that they find out with the revolution that they've got to cut the signal from the TV station that Meg Foster works at. So they've got to go and cut this signal to stop the transmission so that people will wake up.
Like the Matrix.
Just wake up. Yeah. I mean, you can be honest. The Matrix probably was heavily influenced by this movie or the comic book or the short story. There has to be some level of influence into it, you know. But then you could hark back and say, well, okay, was he influenced in a way with the whole? Yeah, you
Okay, yeah.
go down a rabbit hole there.
Would you rather be in the Matrix or awake?
I think I'd rather be in the Matrix.
Me too. I'm anything for an easy life.
Being
And I'm
out of the
far too
Matrix seems
lazy.
incredibly painful,
Yeah.
dirty,
Yeah.
boring, a very hard existence to know that you are real. I'd rather live in the fantasy land to a degree, because then
Me too.
I die, I wait, I get born, I do. I mean,
Turn me into a battery. Who cares? You know, I'm the same. I'm way too lazy. I'm way too happy in my comfort. Like, and I don't like change. So
I especially don't want to be plugged in. Like when you're unaware that you're being plugged in, and you're literally plugged in 24/7. You don't know
yeah.
you're plugged in. Fine. When you're someone who's aware and you can constantly have to choose to plug yourself in, that does not seem pleasant. I'm not really down for that.
No, and it's going to interfere with my hair. Like it's like my hair's the one thing that kind of like I give a shit about.
Well, they
And
don't look like they even wash in the
no,
Matrix. So,
no, they
you
don't.
know.
So I'm happy being plugged in and just kept there and just, you know, let me live my life and then do whatever you want afterwards. Don't like turn me into a battery fertilizer. I'm not really asked. But the scene I was talking about earlier on, especially with like Roddy's performance, he was really taken aback by his whole monologue that he did in the hotel room. He felt that he let John down on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading John's response to him, he was like, are you serious? Is that what you think? Because I got raw, I got emotion, I got real. Like you got really real.
Mm.
And Roddy, he was so disappointed in his performance in that bit because it was the first time in the whole movie, because he had some amazing lines in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the bubblegum one, oh god, the formaldehyde one.
Formaldehyde face.
When he's in the shop, me and Ant just looked at each other and it's almost like we did a spit take at each other because we were like, didn't expect that to come out of his mouth, because he's so unassuming, because he doesn't say a lot at the beginning. So when he does come out and he brings these corker lines with him, it's like, oh shit, I didn't see that one. But that bit where he's in the hotel room and he's spilling his heart out, it's like, oh yeah, like you have got some range.
I think the problem was when someone is a wrestler or a sportsman or presumed to be somewhat of a jock or a meathead. Like, I think a lot of people got the surprise with John Cena. You know, it took a long while to get there with Cena, in respect of that he did a lot of shitty films before he got to be the guy we know he is now.
Do you know what the first film he ever was in? Ever. He's not even the John Cena that we know. Ready to Rumble. Which is, I love that film. I will rule you. Yeah, he's in Sal's wrestling school. If you look very carefully, you will see a very young John Cena working in the background.
Amazing.
Yeah, John Cena is, me and Anthor was class him as the corporate guy.
Yeah,
He's a WWE corporate guy, and when John is on, he is on.
Yeah,
and he is John Cena. But what really stripped back all of that was when he did Peacemaker.
100%. That's where I was going with this.
Yeah,
that was a complete surprise to everybody. I mean, we knew he could make you laugh. We knew the guy could be serious. We knew he knows how to play the heel, the face. We know that that's what John's good at.
Yeah.
Yes, I know my wrestling terms.
Oh.
Yeah, just for those people out there that might doubt. Okay, yeah, I look like this.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, so
It's been a while since you've done that.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick Mail, for that. Yeah, literally, he knows how to do everything.
Yes.
So when it came that he was going to be Peacemaker, and we all saw him in the Suicide Squad as Peacemaker, we were all like, "Oh,
I don't know. I don't know
don't."
how to take you.
Yeah, because obviously with him, I'm not ruining it. You should have all seen the Suicide Squad
Yeah,
with
by
John
now.
Cena by now. He kills Rick Flag, so we're all like, "Holy
Oh.
shit!" We knew he
I
was
mean,
a maniac, but like,
I'm like, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you,
See,
Peacemaker. I hate that. I hate Rick Flag.
Joel, you know,
Kinnaman. Oh, he played RoboCop.
yeah,
No,
it's
just
a
no.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot. Um,
No,
it's when you go on to you take the transition from the movie where everybody's like, "Oh,
oh,
and then you go into the TV series. James Gunn, as most of you know, he directed Suicide Squad and he directed Peacemaker. What James does is something that people don't give him enough credit for. James has been brought up on Troma. He worked for Troma. He worked for Lloyd Kaufman. He knows how to do gross. He knows how to do disgusting. He now knows how to apply that into Guardians. He knows,
the commercial side.
he knows how to work it. He's got to that point through doing all of that. He's done Marvel. He knows where the corporate line is there. And then when he got DC and they were like, do you know what? Have at it.
What have we got to lose?
We need something because we're drowning here. Because Zack Schneider, love or hate him, caused some issues.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right. Love or hate him, that man has brought you some fucking great conversations to the table.
Oh, 100%. And I will always say that the black and white 3-hour version of Justice League is far superior to the original.
I agree.
Fight me, because there's much more context in it. There's better scenes in it. There is more conversation to be had between the lot of them. You get to understand it a lot more. The only problem is Schneider has a habit of doing director's cuts, and we want to see the original film from the start. So give me what I'm paying for when I want it. I don't want to have to wait an hour, 6 weeks, 7 years for the director's cut. Just give me it now, you know.
Yeah, and also maybe hire someone else to do the soundtrack for your
Instead
movie,
of your
because
wife or your sister
the
or whoever
fucking
it is.
shit. They're terrible. They didn't fit. It didn't fit at all.
They were all coming off of the back of all the heat that they got off Schneider anyway. So Gunn took it and he was like, right, okay, they've pretty much given me free rein to a degree. And James looks at all of his friends' base and he's like, okay, I've got my mate there. This is my wife. Okay, we can work this, you know, and nepotism, yeah, but the nepotism works in this case. He's done,
It really does.
Good choices. And by letting John run free with the character and be the egotistical megalomaniac that we all are supposed to hate, we all end up loving this guy.
Like, you know, passionately.
And he's a dick to the core. He is the biggest just idiot. He's got an eagle that hugs him eagerly, you know.
Eagerly, I forgot about Eagly. It feels like a lifetime since it's been on telly.
And his best mate is someone who's like a really bad Deadpool ripoff, you know.
But how funny is he though?
He looks like Napoleon Dynamite when he takes off his mask, you know. You everything about that is all thanks to the fact that Roddy Piper was smart enough to say, kiss my ass, Vince, I'm going off to do it. Which then in turn made Vince more aware of the fact that money could be made from this shit when Roddy come back, to then go, and we can start something here, to then start releasing all of his wrestlers to be able to go to do movie contracts.
Because what's the alternative? They quit. Just like what Roddy did. He quit.
And then he has to pay him double to come back.
Exactly. But he said the whole thing changed his career afterwards because they saw the action star in him and they were like, okay, then let's see some action moves. And it totally changed his ring performance to where it just got better and better on the back of this. There is a very funny conspiracy when it comes to this movie. Right. Have you heard it?
Possibly.
To do with Roddy Piper's body.
Yes. Yeah.
There is a huge conspiracy that when Roddy has his top off, that's not him. They have superimposed his head onto someone else's body. That's the conspiracy.
Yeah. John thought that was the most hilarious thing he'd ever heard in his life. He's like, we didn't have the budget for that. Why would people think that?
Why do you think we got a wrestler for? So we didn't have to do shit like that.
Wrestlers were built totally different back in the day, though. Like you look
Yeah.
at if you look at British wrestling, you have Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, all that. Wrestlers
Way
weren't
different.
they were not hench Dame Judies. They were like
They were
they were a
power.
certain way. They were big guys.
Hmm.
Slowly into the 80s, they translate out and they're more like working men's, manual labor, lumberjack, big, top heavy guys, but they
Mhm.
weren't jacked.
No.
We're not talking roided up to the eyeballs. We're talking just before we get to that point where if
Yeah.
you see the Vince McMahon documentary, which I highly recommend everybody does, that was 5 episodes of what the fuck? Of me sitting there the whole time going, what the
Yeah.
what?
I listened to a podcast. I think it literally is called "What the Fuck, Vince McMahon." I literally think that's what it's called, but
Yeah.
it is a 5-6 parts podcast. But they're like 4-hour long episodes, and it breaks down everything on Vince. So they didn't even scratch the fucking surface when it comes to this man. So you think what you've watched there is terrible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know the fucking half of it.
Oh, I don't doubt it, but from the point of view that he eventually left the wrestling because he couldn't bear him. He said he was an egomaniac who always needed to be in control, and he didn't like it if anybody strayed from the path. Now we've seen that through some of the other wrestlers that have dared to defy Vince. Like you look at Saraya, you look at Paige. Paige came up. She's a girl from Norwich who got spotted because she sent in a tape. She thought it would be a brother that would get through. It wasn't. It was her. If anybody's seen Fighting in the Family, fantastic film.
Watch the
it.
documentary. Watch the
Yeah.
original documentary, Fighting with My Family. It's on
Yeah.
Channel 4. We watched it well before we knew who Saraya was, well before we knew who Paige was. That family is fucking insane, but in the best possible way.
And they supported her in every way. And her brother could have acted completely different, but he does is support her now.
Everything.
And from a little girl in Norwich to be able to go and get spotted and go to WWEF training camp to then be able to be taken by The Rock, because it was The Rock that pushed for her to specifically get into as a no one to come on and do that match and win the belt and become a face. He pushed so hard to get her to where she was, but then she defied Vince because she'd had enough of his bullshit. She didn't want to toe the line anymore. She wanted to step away. She wanted to take some time out. But Vince stripped her of everything. She was no longer allowed to be called Paige. He took her name. He took her Twitter. He took her Twitch. Her Twitch stream was one of her biggest revenues.
And that was it. That's what wrestlers were doing in lockdown. They were using Twitch as their way to make money. And they all got told, you need to stop this. She said, fuck no. Now Saraya Paige has not had the greatest time within wrestling. No. She was, a lot of things got leaked that should never have been leaked. And she didn't really get the fucking support that she should have gotten.
Yeah.
A lot of people turned their back on her, and it's disgusting. What she did in the privacy of her own fucking home had nothing to do with anyone else and should never have been fucking leaked.
Which leads a lot of people to believe that it was a purposeful thing done and orchestrated by the McMahons to get rid of her or to drum up controversy, to make her look like a bad person.
But hey, Saraya's come out on top because she's always stayed true to herself. She now uses, Saraya is her mum wrestling name.
Yeah.
But it's her real name.
Yeah.
So she now is using her mother's ring name.
Yeah, and I think she's either engaged or she's been going out with Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse for a very, very long time. She's been in a lot of his music videos as well. I'm Not a Vampire Revisited. She plays the love interest in that, and she's absolutely stunning.
She's beautiful. I know she's
gone to AEW now, is she?
Yeah, because what they were doing was they were keeping wrestlers from Daniel Bryan as a prime example. His neck injury puts him out of commission. He literally has to retire while he's under contract from WWE. He goes to 5 doctors who tell him it's not actually that bad. If we do X, Y, and Z, we could possibly get this. You could actually get back in the ring. the WWE doctor, oh, absolutely not. You can't do that. You will be literally paralyzed for the rest of your life. He then leaves, goes to the doctor. This is Bree as well. His wife is saying, go to the doctors. He then goes back to the doctor who does the operation. Guess what Daniel Bryan does now? He wrestles. He told he would never be able to wrestle again. They literally, because they just want to keep him there.
Yeah.
They did the same to her with her neck. She
But
wrestles again.
the pressure that these guys are under, and
Mhm.
it's, we go from the fact that Roddy was strong enough and in a good position enough to go, I don't fucking care, stick
Yeah.
it. But the pressure, like when you start going into, I'm not talking about like your Brock Lesnar's where things are a little bit on the, not sure how much involvement he had in the whole Vince McMahon thing, allegedly, don't know. I'm talking about your Chris Benoit's and the push that the mental health breaks that some of these people are under to achieve the unbelievable achievements that, the long list of things that they are told that they have to achieve within a certain amount of time. They're coasting. The one person that stood by Vince, which I still to this day find so difficult to get my head around, is the Undertaker.
Don't get me started.
Mark, I can't remember his surname.
Holloway.
He will not have anybody say a bad word about him. He genuinely is under the delusion that Vince is God. And do you know what? If you want to coast through life that way and you want to stand by your point and you are that convicted that everything is a lie, even when given physical proof, actual evidence, and I'm talking about proper receipts, I'm not talking about hearsay, I'm talking about bang on receipts, and you still want to stand by your convictions, then I tell you what, that takes a hell of a person, because I would have to step back and go, hang on a minute.
Yeah. You see, we've like I said earlier, John Cena, corporate kiss ass. When John's on, he's on. It's exactly the same. But John knows right from wrong.
Yeah, I've seen enough interviews with him to know that he did one with the basketball guy that Cat Williams did the interview with. And I've forgotten his name.
That interview with Cat Williams, holy shit, it was the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
I love Cat Williams and I will always love Cat Williams. Cat Williams doesn't care, but the way he will tell a secret, he doesn't divulge information, but he does at the same time. He's a very clever person.
So clever. That interview is amazing. Please go and watch it. Please just watch it.
Shannon something, the guy that they've done the podcast with.
The fucking mic drops he does in that podcast is just absolutely amazing. I saw John Cena act the corporate fool when the Benoit thing happened. They're all sitting on Larry King, and they're all sitting around the table, and you've got Jericho, friend of, you've got Bret Hart, whose brother is obviously Owen Hart, and you've got Cena. Cena could not, honestly, if he wasn't reading from a fucking teleprompter that was written by Vince McMahon, I'd be shocked as shit. But that's the one time I was like, John, really?
Yeah.
Really?
To this day, Bret is still under an illusion that it was rigged, even though it's been proved that it was faulty equipment, according to
whatever lets him sleep at night.
Yeah, according to a WWE WF investigation, Owen's rig was faulty. It was a faulty batch. But
take responsibility. Hold your hands up.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you shouldn't have carried on the episode. You don't see it happen because it blacks out, but what you do see afterwards is the claret everywhere, the aftermath.
He's and then dead you see the in Rock. The middle of that ring.
Yeah, I mean, they carry him off and he's gone. But you see the Rock fighting. You see the Undertaker's face in the blood stains on the mat. That is not a man that has integrity. That is a man that is seeing dollar signs only. And you can tell by when you've got Jerry Lawler and
Jim Ross.
They're sat there. Yeah, I know who Jerry Lawler is. And you've got them sat there and they're trying to break this news and they're absolutely broken and they don't know what the hell's happening. And shattered. At that point I'd be like, and now
cut it.
Yeah,
we could.
Now it's but the point I think I'm getting to is that Roddy paved the way for the ability for all of these guys to be able to go on and do these things that be in the movies that they wanted to
He
be in.
scared Vince.
He did.
He scared Vince enough because walking away from a contract like that for a film that, if Vince is right, isn't going to do anything. He put everything on the line for this, and it fucking pays off because it is still, to this day, universally loved.
And stands up no matter what. Okay, his mullet doesn't stand up, and I still swear by the fact he looks like a cousin of Steve Irwin in this. He looks like an Australian bogan.
He really does.
He
couldn't. I
does.
says to Antoine while watching it. Now, do you class that as a mullet? Because I don't quite see party at the front. You know, is it business? No, business at the front, party at the back. I don't quite see that. It's very Kurt Russell.
It's flowy. It has side. It's got a lot of side.
It's Bon Jovi.
Yeah, we're getting into the hair metal kind of almost phase. He's got about another couple of inches.
But it's not there. Yeah, but it's not quite there. But
Mm.
it's you can see, if give it a bit more time, it gonna get there. Yeah, I couldn't quite understand his hair. What point were we on?
Well, just about the fact that you can take someone,
Oh, that's right. I know where we're
let
at.
them make their own choices, damn the consequences, and they come away and they get a #1 box office movie in 1988 off of a 3 million budget movie at the time. They turn over 13 million, and the film wasn't even in box offices for that long. They let it hit #1, and then it got pulled, and then it became one of the movies that one of the greatest movies that nobody's seen. And I still can't understand that, because most people I know have seen it other than you, but you knew of it.
Oh,
It wasn't
yeah,
like
and
it was a
it's do you know
secret.
what? And it was always just one of those things where I need to watch this. I know I need to watch this. This, you know, this sits in the history of horror, regardless if we don't want to class it as a horror film. It does sit within the horror community. It was sheer laziness on my part. Michael was so happy that we are doing They Live, obviously because Mike was on the episode of The Thing, and he put as Mike does, always puts a comment underneath my post that I did do on a Monday, and he was like, "Awesome episode, Sammy. Can't believe you get to watch this for the first time. I am so jealous." And I am so happy to say, Mike, I loved it. I really did. I knew I was gonna like it. I didn't expect to come out like going, I really love that. And I did. I thought it was brilliant. And it's something, for some reason, I don't know why, but over the last few months, The Thing has been with us.
It might have been because For the Love of Horror, obviously they had a bit of a cast
Might have been.
reunion. There was a lot of props. So,
yeah, it's just kind of sat with us, and I'm like, oh, I really wish I did that episode more justice. But I feel like especially with it being John Carpenter as well, and something different other than Halloween.
well,
But we did vampires, and I made up for that.
Honestly, I think we'll do a John Carpenter episode at some point, because obviously he's got such a history, and the guy has got such a wealth of knowledge, and he loves everything from synth music to directing to film. To the guy knows his shit. So
before we wrap this up, we got to mention the one thing that I messaged you about. Dun dun dun. Fucking music.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun. I messaged Dan and I was like, "Is this the music from Vampires?" And it fucking is. I'm telling you right now, Michael, if you want to get on in the comments, prove me wrong. That is the music from John Carpenter's Vampires. It's the same song.
I'm looking.
I really did just send Dan a message going, "It's the same fucking music."
Right. We'll probably get a copyright strike for this, but
what's this one? Oh, do I have to guess? I can see what it is. It's Vampires. I can't hear it.
yeah, it's very similar. Not quite the same.
Right.
It's the bare bones of it. It's very, very similar.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, there's something more
dun,
country
dun.
about vampires.
Yeah.
than there is about the They Live. The They Live is basically, it seems a bit more rednecky, because obviously they give the impression that he might have been a redneck at some point. I don't know. You get that kind of vibe coming off of him.
Yeah.
Like I
It's
say, he looks like an Australian bogan to me, which is an Australian redneck. He just
it
looks like he's.
really got on Ant's nerves because it didn't help that I just kept going bum bum bum.
The thing is, I will say about John, he will take a theme and he will flog that theme throughout the entire movie. Does it with all
The
of them.
entire movie.
You look how many times he uses in the Halloween, you know, that he will take it, he will flog it, because he knows that he's the one who's made it, so he will make the money off every time it gets played. So the guy knows what
Well,
he's doing.
well done, John. I have no more on this movie. Do I? No. No, I don't have any
No,
more
I
on
mean,
this movie.
I'm sure there's much more we could talk about, and I know we went off on a little wrestling tangent there, but it's kind of related.
Monsters does wrestling. I did not see that coming in this episode, even though Roddy Piper's in here.
I love Dark Side of the Ring. It's one of my most favorite TV series, because I was brought up on a diet of Ultimate Warrior. I was brought up on a diet of Hulk Hogan. I've been to Hulk Hogan's shop now in Florida. We went last year. I know he's an idiot.
I hate the man, but I know that shop.
Yeah.
I know that shop, and I know the statue outside. I was never a Hogan fan as a kid. I was Macho Man, Jake the Snake. Like, I was anything but Hulk Hogan. And I always remember us having these, like, wrestling, I want to say like a plushy doll kind of thing, but it was about a big.
Yeah, they were the
Arms
squishy
came
things.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, and me gran was like, "Now don't fight over Hulk Hogan." I was like, "You know, catch me fighting over that, you can have it."
They're worth around £100 now, those dolls.
Shut up.
No, I had some. I had a Hulk Hogan and I had an Ultimate Warrior, and I sold them both each for £100 each. But yeah,
crazy.
Ric Flair.
Woo!
We had, like, I was lucky enough when I worked at Butlins to meet Tatanka, to be chased around the stage by the Legion of Doom,
That's crazy.
and I had to jump on the stage and roll out of the way whilst they were chasing me with chairs. It's things in my life that I have done that are insane.
You are such a dark horse. It's like we need probably an episode of Dan reveals.
Honestly, these are things that I never think of, and then they just come out of my mouth, and I go, "Oh yeah, I've done that." It's like I am never ungrateful for anything that's happened in my life, be it good or bad, because I wouldn't be who I am today. And I most certainly have lived a life, many different lives in one. And I cannot tell you how every day I don't thank my lucky stars that I get to be in the same places as some people. I get to meet some people. I get,
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not an Instagram lifer either. I can tell you with every good.
She really fucking isn't.
No.
You don't find out this shit. Like, as long as I've known her, you don't find out shit until she's ready, or she's got some free time, or she's like just sends you it over. She's not like instantly she's not out there taking photographs to put straight away on Instagram. That shit's saved.
You know why? Because I forget I've taken the fucking photos off.
I don't take any. I'm absolutely terrible for
and
someone.
That's the other thing. Yeah, I forget.
For Love of Horror, I wanted to do a little compilation video for our TikTok page on for Monsters. I had out. I was like, I had to pull everyone. I was like, can I have your shit, please? Because I've got I took nothing. Do you know what I did take? Because as soon as we walked in, Ant clocked the banner, and you need to get a picture of that. And that's the only photographs I have is the banners of the Bleeding Marvelous and then the Wolfman's Nards. I don't have many other pictures. I think I might took one of the set.
We've just got into horror, rock and wrestling.
Yes, congratulations.
So that one's a win-win for me across all three of the boards, because horror, obviously, wrestling, now you know.
Now we know.
And rock music has always been a thing, because I used to be a music manager. I used to have 3 bands.
Honestly,
I used to, yeah, amongst many other things during, for music, having a record contract and all that. But I'll save that one for another day.
My goodness,
a long life one has led for such a young person.
Because she's only 21, people. Hey, if you want, I'm that good of a friend. If you want to tell me you're 21, I'm gonna go, yeah, you're 21.
21 plus 23. Oh Christ. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
I'll
that
back you. I'll back you. I will. I'll keep it going. Honestly, that's how good I am. Right. I think we're gonna put They Live to bed. And next week we are wrapping up, people. We are wrapping up. We are nearing the end of season 2. Shit. It doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago that I said for the first time in 2024, welcome to the Monsters Up North podcast.
We've gone solid from January
Yep.
all the way through to the end of November.
Yep. Yeah. We did it. And it's been such a journey that, because I don't even think we had a plan. And I say this all the time. I generally don't think we had a plan, but it just mapped out. We do know what the first episode is. We will come back to. It's a very special one, and we'll wait till later. Got plenty of time before we announce that. But next week, we're going in the holiday season.
Festive.
It's not festive like Dan hates festive. It's more Turkey Day. It's Thanksgiving. Very recent slasher movie as well, and one that was quite a surprise to us. So yeah, next week is going to be Thanksgiving. Dun,
Eli Roth, isn't it?
Dun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's never going to leave your head.
No, it's not. Probably be singing it next week as well. And McStreamy, I called him McSteamy the other day, and Ant was like, "Excuse you." I was like, "Oh shit, no, that's Mark Sloan." Yeah, McDreamy. Yes.
Dreamy.
So this has been They Live. Next week is Thanksgiving, and we can be found on YouTube every Monday at 8 o'clock for your viewing pleasure. For your listening pleasure, you can find us at Monsters Up North from anywhere you get your podcasts from. The links for Bleeding Marvelous, Monsters Up North, and Nerdy Up North are where, Dan?
Down there.
Down there. With your bloody fingernails.
My bloody fingernails.
Bloody nails. And is that it? Yeah. Is that it? You sure? Are you sure?
Pretty much. Audio's available on Tuesday. Can't remember if you said that, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Can't remember. Brains like mush. Generally can't remember. Yeah. Audio goes up. I did say for listeners, you can search Monsters Up North. Because what you got to remember is, people, for all we are on the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel, under the section of Monsters Up North, to find us on audio, you have to search Monsters Up North. Just to make you aware. And it does go up on a Tuesday. So, well, if there's nothing else left to say goodbye, Dan.
You know, you look like your head fell into the cheese dip back in 1957. Formaldehyde face.
I was gonna be serious. But stay spooky, everyone. Bye.